people trying to sell you shit. You get that, right? Here's the problem with that. It's a lack of systems because a lot of these really expensive coaches don't care.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Clever Genius Podcast. My name is Emmanuel. If you haven't met me yet, I'm talking head guy over at Square One Group. Really, our mission is to help you identify your expertise and help you scale your real estate business using systems. And today I have a really awesome guest joining me. Very close friend of mine, superstar coach. But first, let me review some of her accolades. 30 plus years in the business. She started really young, so she knows exactly how this game works. Rock star veteran out of the Northern Ohio area. She's also the CEO, founding member, and like the main coach for the Rebel Agent Posse. By the way, if you haven't joined her group and her community yet, I'm going to leave the link to her Facebook group in the description below, so you can jump in because she's always just talking about some really awesome stuff in there. Hey, Stacey, thanks for hanging out with me today.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. I hope, did I miss anything
Yeah.
in terms of an intro? Any other accolades I forgot to drop?
Only the busy mom part, you know. I'm like everybody else. I'm living a life with 5 kids and doing the whole thing. Thankfully, most of them are grown and gone now, but I think that's what keeps me sharp.
Oh, I love it. But I know I should also add it's hockey mom too. It's not just any mom
Yeah.
of 5 kids. You're also
Yeah.
a superstar
No.
hockey mom.
No, they're nuts. They're nuts.
Love it. Okay, well, hey, Stacey, I wanted to have you on today because I wanted to jam on with you a little bit about real estate agent accountability. It's like a topic that I don't think gets enough love, and I wanted to spend today's conversation just unpacking a lot of what accountability means for a real estate agent. So let's kind of start off with this kind of broad, high-level question. I would love for you to define for the listeners and viewers, like, what is accountability and how important is it for real estate agents to stay accountable?
Yeah. So I would tell you, I'm going to start by ripping off of somebody else's definition. Okay.
You're
So
all good.
I'm going to rip off of Brian Moran, who wrote the 12-week year. And I love his definition of it because accountability is nothing more and nothing less than absolute ownership, regardless of whatever consequences come up, regardless of the phone calls you got, the emails you got, the kid's homesick, got to drive the dog to the vet, whatever it is, it's absolute ownership of the outcome, regardless of consequences. So the problem with that is that's Brian's definition. And that's my definition, but it's not the definition a lot of people have. So they kind of have this accountability has this like ick factor to it that they're like, I'm not comfortable. I interviewed a lady once. She was going to work as an agent in our office. And I said something about accountability, like you have a team here and we're all together and there's some accountability. And she bristled. And I mean, sat up in her chair and got like visibly pissed. And she said, I'm 54 years old and I've earned the right not to be accountable to anybody, least of all you. So everybody has their own definition of accountability and you have to find what's right for you. But in truth, it is absolute ownership, devoid of reasons or excuses. Those are the same things, right? And you have to figure out what that looks like for you. How do you get accountability in a way that's comfortable and inspiring and creates motivation?
Oh, I love it. And that's a great definition, which actually kind of leads me to the next question. And I want to take a quote from someone else. This time it's me quoting someone else because I know we're both fans of him, James Clear. He says that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your system. So my question for you is, what are some of the common challenges that real estate agents face when it comes to accountability and consistency?
It's a lack of systems. It's a lack of understanding of what James is talking about, right? And we just don't have those. A lot of people come into real estate from some sort of corporate background, or maybe they ran their own business. And what they don't realize is that came with systems. And a system can be helpful, or it could be not as helpful either. You think you have a system about something, but you haven't questioned it, you haven't tested it, you don't know if it really works, but you're working it. So you can be kind of a hostage to old systems that used to work for you that won't produce results. And then you can also be someone who fails to realize that in this business, in real estate, you have to devise your own systems and they have to be customizable. One size does not fit all in workflow or systems. And that can be a challenge because a lot of salespeople, they're that high I personality. They're just doing their thing. And I love people and I like showing houses. And they're not thinking about the systems. And there are very few that exist natively in the industry. They're things you have to kind of figure out. And that's really hard for agents, I think, don't you?
Oh no, I absolutely think so. Like I think like the I personality definitely shines, but when it comes to being the what's the word I'm looking for? Like buckling down and thinking about what is required to get from point A to point B, the back office admin stuff, that
Yeah.
isn't very top of mind for most
Yeah.
agents. And I think that's really where I see a lot of agents struggle because they struggle with back office. And sometimes um, it's the boring stuff that you got to do in order to get the business to work for you.
Yeah, you got
Um,
to slow down and build it. And what I would tell you is the best question you can ask yourself when you're starting out with anything is what does done look like? Like, what does done
exactly.
look like? And then you work backwards from there. And if you don't have that in you, like you just can't duct tape yourself to your chair in your office long enough to do it, it's time to phone a friend. It really is because there are people whose brains work that way and can help
Mhm.
you execute your vision. And that's not a bad thing if you can't execute your vision, like that you need help understanding how all these tools and resources work, like the tools you guys offer. You know,
Yeah.
that's not something I knew or understood before taking your coaching. I just don't know it. That wasn't on my pre-license exam. I didn't know I was ever going to have to know that 30 years ago. It was press hard on the 4 copies of the NCR paper and the fax machine. I didn't realize I was ever going to have to know, Facebook ads and all of these different things and A/B testing. Like that sounded like
Yeah.
something out of a medical lab. Like that was never going to be. True story. I sat in a sales meeting where I remember we asked our manager if the internet was going to be a thing and if listings would ever be on the internet. And I swear to you, sure as I sit here, he said, I can absolutely predict that the internet is a flash in the pan and that listings will never be online.
Oh,
That's how
ooh,
much the
that's rough.
business has changed, right?
Yeah.
So we have no way of knowing what's going to be asked of us. If you can't execute, you don't have to be an expert in all of these things. You need to find the person that helps you execute quickly and build a
Mhm.
system that then automates the things that you don't want to do.
Exactly. And you said that about the internet. I'm just thinking now about Chat GPT. I feel like it's been written off, but I think it's only a matter of time where we see the injection of AI into a lot of how we work as agents.
Sure.
Speaking of which, that kind of segues into the next big question I have for you, which is like talking to the right people, like getting the right people to help you out. Let's talk about accountability and really your zone of genius, like coaching and mentorships. What is the big misconception about hiring a coach or a mentor? And what is the actual benefit of it, like the accountability benefit component of having the coach and the mentor?
Yeah, it's funny because here again, one size does not fit all. And I'm not going to rip on the coaching industry, although it's going to sound like it for a hot minute.
It's
It
okay.
will.
We
It's
share the
gonna
same
it's
views.
gonna it's gonna sound crappy at first, but I'm just gonna be honest. It was the reason I got into real estate because I had a crappy,
Yeah.
experience buying my first house. I did
Yeah.
that, and I'm like, I know I can do this better. One coach is not like another, not like another, and it's not regulated. There's not one playbook, so you have to find a coach that speaks specifically to what you need in the moment. And I guess I'm more a fan of prescriptive coaching, like find the expert in what you're trying to accomplish, not these kind of large organizations that are one size fits all. It just makes a lot of sense. I have clients who work in a market where they only need to sell 12 to 15 units a year to make, $500,000 a year. That's not a problem. They don't need systems and processes that are going to drive, 100, 200, 300 units a year. So they need a coach that understands that and isn't trying to load them up with all this extra stuff, right? Conversely, if you have someone who needs to make a certain amount of money and they work in a market like mine in Northeast Ohio, where your average sale price is only 225, you need some systems. You need a bigger funnel. You need more leads in the top of that funnel. Like that's a
Yeah.
different program and a different plan. So the first thing I would tell you is find someone that has what you need and that can tailor it. I think that if someone's coaching you out of a book or on a program, you run the risk of, again, being in that one size fits all category. But one of the misconceptions is that it's expensive or that it's ongoing. It doesn't have to be. There are coaches out there that really offer a quality program and they do it, for a short period of time. And then you can level up and move on to a different coach that speaks to something else. So I would encourage people to explore. Don't just, get a coach to say you have a coach and then make sure they hold you accountable. Because a lot of these really expensive coaches don't care. You're calling
Yeah.
in, it's $1,000, an hour, and they don't care whether you did the work or not. Just keep calling in, just keep signing the contract. The longer you stay
That's how
stuck
they make
in
their
your
money.
job security, right? So I
Exactly.
think that that's really important, is to find someone and give them permission to hold your feet to the fire.
I love it. I love it. And actually, that reminds me of the old adage that like people are on different chapters of their book, so there is no one size
Yes.
fit all strategy. And I think that's probably
Right.
one of the biggest things that I kind of gripe on. It's that people sell the one size fit all strategy when in reality, like someone's goals is different from another person. So you need to look for someone that kind of fits that perfect puzzle piece where you're kind of missing it in your own perfect puzzle to paint the picture of what you want your lifestyle to be. Um, Love it. I love it. Uh, Let me ask you this. So I have a question about more like in the weeds accountability, but I want to
Here we go.
glance over that and kind of come back to this because I think we're on a good vibe right now. We're on a good path, and I want to ask a little bit more about um, goal setting. Like we were talking off air about this.
Mhm.
Like everyone's goal is different, and we were talking about everyone's on a different chapter of their book. What is your take on planning and goal setting?
So I used to teach this big 8-hour business planning thing, and we would do it in October for the
Uh,
following year. And I know a lot of people have been involved in that model. I coach a lot of brokers, and I'm like asking them, and what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, we're planning our business planning. I'm like, it's October. And I understand why they do it. There's a reason why they do it, and they need to forecast their goals for their brokerage. They want to focus on retention. They don't want agents leaving, so they're trying to get in relationship and have those conversations. That's all great. Here's the problem with that. If there was ever a better example, COVID threw us the biggest, kink in an annual business plan that we ever could have imagined. I mean, it sent us totally sideways. Like nobody had any idea what was going to happen one week to the next. So with goal setting, I think it's really important to know what your very long-term goals are. Like you need to know where this whole thing ends up in the end. And not just income wise, but what you want around you, what you want your life to look like, what you want your family to look like, where are you spending your time, what are you doing, all of those things. I think it's important to have 3 to 5 year goals. But I do think like what we're working on right now, you got to reduce that down to about a 12-week period of time. And I got to give mad props to Brian Moran. We had been doing quarterly, goal setting for a long time, but yet we didn't go as in depth. So goal setting requires you to take a hard look at your skill set, where you need to grow. You need to have goals around that. You need to have goals around what your activities are going to be that are sustainable for you. This goes back to the coaching thing too. Don't hire, if you've never made cold calls, never liked making cold calls, and would rather stab yourself in the thigh with a fork than make cold calls, don't hire a cold calling coach. Like,
oh
I know
yeah.
that sounds dumb, right? But people will get, kind of like ramped up about it and they're like, no, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to do it. No, you're not. You're just not. So I think taking inventory of what you like to do, who your people are, what your markets, like all of these things, and then working with someone to figure out what goals there are for you really helps. The other thing is, I hate the word realistic. So I don't want to set realistic goals. I really don't. If I want to run a kick ass 5K, I'm going to train like I'm training for a half marathon. And then I'm going to blow that 5K out of the water.
I
It's a
love it.
foregone conclusion. So stop worrying about goals being realistic, because by having unrealistic goals, it chooses you to think differently about the tools that you'll use, the people that you'll surround yourself with. It'll change the conversations you're having, the tactics that you're going to use have a lot more leverage. you're just going to think about things differently. So I have a little bit of a different perspective on goal setting. And the last thing that I'll say is this: you've all heard about SMART goals, right? They need to be, specific and measurable and actionable, but I want to change the R. And I can't remember where I heard this, and I wish I could give credit to where I read this. But it makes so much sense, and it changed how I wrote goals. The R used to be realistic. The R in SMART used to be realistic. And someone said, no, it needs to be changed to relevant. What relevance does that goal have for you? In other words, when you write your goal, right, I want to transact 15 pieces of business between now and July 30th, because that's going to allow me to X. And having that in front of you too, that why that you're focused on, can make a tremendous difference.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. It reminds me talking about the 5K, because I just remember recently hearing that. I think it was from like an Admire podcast about like, oh, that's how you train for it. You overshoot the goal, because by overshooting it, you'll end up hitting what was so inevitably the realistic one. You're talking about goals, but what I would love to talk about now is setbacks. Like, let's say you miss the goal. You're not able to hit that realistic and relevant goal. And you end up feeling kind of washed out. Like, how do you overcome the setbacks of missing the mark? And how does that align or pertain with accountability?
So I think that's a really great question. And in thinking about, missing the mark, there's so many gifts in that. And that's a mindset shift. I know it is. And I know it's a big ask, because when you're disappointed, your inclination is to rip on yourself. And I want you to think about that differently. So whenever we fail, we've learned so much. We've learned what doesn't work. We've learned that maybe we need to ramp up our frequency of things, right? We've learned that what we focused on wasn't maybe what we needed to be focusing on. We know the perfect plan that won't get us to where we want to go, right? We laid it out. We worked it. And if we're honest with ourselves, we have the opportunity to do what I call an autopsy. So I do an autopsy on my week, and then I do an autopsy on my 12 weeks when the whole thing is done. And Brian talks about this in the 12-week year book, and we've kind of riffed on it, but we spend a week doing a full autopsy on what happened. And when we're really honest with ourselves, again, ownership, there comes your accountability. When you're really honest with yourself, you can look at your plan, look what you actually did, maybe what you didn't do, maybe what you tried but really didn't commit to, and you can make those adjustments. And you don't have to have a bad year. You don't have to have a bad 6 months. It can just be a bad week, so that you're getting back on track much more quickly, because you're doing that autopsy. You're taking a look at, where did I go wrong? What did I allow to take my focus off of what I needed to do? The other thing too is, when you have a plan like that, it's easy to have an accountability partner. This is written in black and white. I have a SMART goal. It's measurable. I either did it or I didn't. There's no bullshit. So if you're going to hire a coach, you need to have a written plan and give them permission to go over the plan with you and go, we did it, we didn't, we did it, we didn't, we didn't, we did it. What got in your way? And take you through that thought experiment, so you can come out the other side having grown and having learned from it. Failure can be a really good thing. It really can, but it's a mindset shift.
Yeah. No, I love it. And you're 100% accurate. Like, I think failing is often frowned upon, but failing often is really the strategy to success. So you learn what you didn't know previously.
It's critical. It's critical, because if you're going to sit back in your chair and you're going to watch these webinars and free trainings and all the free coaching that's out there that's designed to overwhelm you, you're going to say, well, that doesn't work. Well, that doesn't work. Well, you haven't even tried it. And nothing delights me more than to see someone choose something that they can get behind, execute on it at a high level, and be absolutely shocked at their results. And they're like, that was awesome. I felt good doing it. I felt good making the process happen. I felt good with the feedback I got from my clients. This was awesome. This didn't even feel like work. No shit. Like, that's the way it should feel. It shouldn't feel like a grind. That doesn't mean that I get up every morning and I can't wait to do my lead generation, but it does make it a lot easier. James Clear, again,
Yeah.
those powerful habits that you have are easy to get started. They're easy to stay with and to keep going. And I think that you have to match what you're doing and your process to who you are and fall in love with the process. If you fall in love with the process and you execute at a high level, you implement, you do what you say you're going to do, you're accountable, whether you have an accountability partner or not, I think you can just put the results out of your head because they'll show up. They really
I
will.
love
They'll
it.
show up.
I love it. I love that advice. That's beautiful advice. Now let me go. I hate to go down a rabbit hole, and I have like
Rabbit
two
hole.
more
Let's
questions
go.
to ask
Let's go.
because like we talked about setbacks. Now I want to talk about shiny objects. How do you stay accountable despite the many shiny objects? Like you talked about the 12-week year and focusing on the goals, but I think it's just inherent that regardless if you're in real estate or not, you're an entrepreneur, you're going to get exposed to so many shiny objects. How do you not get distracted?
So, first of all, I think it's okay to commit to something and put everything else on the back burner because anything that you're considering doing, it'll be there in 90 days when you're done. So, this is how I operate. I give myself permission to put it on the back burner. Okay. So everything that I see, every webinar that I want to, I want to watch everybody's stuff because I can learn from everybody. I'm like, well, I'm going to get something out of this, right? I could spend all day doing that. I have really smart friends like you. Like I could spend all day listening to what they have to say. The problem with that is that it's going to take me off track. And what that person is saying in that moment might not apply at all to my marketplace, the people I currently have in my pipeline, the projects that I have set for myself, the opportunities that lie before me. Those are unique. Those are specific to me. Therefore, they need my focus. And this shiny object or that shiny object may not integrate with what I'm already doing. So if it's really all that good, I just have a place, I have a Google Doc where I just save stuff to read later, look at later, and everything else. And believe it or not, most of the time I never get back to it. You know why? Because I find out that it really wasn't necessary. If it was necessary, I would have had to go look for it, right? But that's not the case most of the time. But for my own to feel good in the moment, I'm like, I want to watch that video he put out. Like, I want to see what he had going on. Like I'll park it somewhere, and then if I
Yeah.
have time, if I have a block of time, instead of watching Netflix, I'll watch that stuff. But shiny object syndrome, you got to just give yourself permission to focus for a short period of time and put everything else on hold.
I
You
love
got to
it. I
do it.
love it. Yeah,
I'm telling
and
you, it's the
it's the
biggest
honest
problem
truth
people
too.
have.
Yeah.
There's a whole
No,
industry of people trying to sell you shit. You get that, right? Like, does everybody know
yeah.
that? Like, realtors are the most preyed upon. I swear, there's nobody else that gets more sales calls than real. It's so bad that we're not picking up our phone to answer leads because we're afraid it's somebody trying to sell us health insurance again. And I'm just, you just have to say no, and it's okay. And certainly say no if you don't have your foundations in place. If you don't have foundations in your business and basic workflows, you have no business looking at anything else.
Oh
I
yeah,
give you permission.
100%. Like it's like building a house. Like you don't build the roof before building the foundation. Those
Mhm.
shiny objects are just like building the roof without building the foundation. It's
Oh,
not going
they're
to stand
considering
very.
what cabinet pulls they want in a half bath. They're
Oh,
they're not even thinking about pouring footers, and it's a problem.
it is totally real. It is totally real. Okay. I said two questions, but I said earlier that I wanted to ask a tactical one. So can I bug you for two more questions, and then I know you're busy. I'll let you go.
You're
Is that
not
okay?
bugging me at all.
All right. Question number one is let's keep on this downward trend because I think more people talk about like all the happiness and joys of accountability and coaching. They don't talk about the bad stuff. So I want to talk. I want to take a second about and talk about common mistakes real estate agents make when it comes to accountability and consistency. I know you elaborated a little bit about this earlier about like you don't sign up with the people that or with a program of something like cold calling when you know you don't like cold calling. But
Right.
can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on what are some other common mistakes that if you're a brand new real estate agent or maybe an agent that's trying to just ramp up, like what do you look out for?
So I think you need to choose someone that specializes in where you are in your career at the moment, and, you'll have people tell you, yep, go hire a big fat coach and you've been in the business like 6 weeks. And that's going to
Won't
be a
name any.
problem. That's going to
We
be a
won't name any names.
Yeah, we won't name names, but we know who they are. And so, you need someone that has the bandwidth to coach you at whatever level you are and help you get ready to level up. Now, whether that's within their expertise or not, to coach you once you level up, that's a question you might want to ask too. It's like, what's your specialty? But I think it's important, like if you're in the first part of your business and again, you're building those foundations, don't go hire a coach that's talking to you about how to build a team. Like you need someone to coach you right where you are. It's very prescriptive. And I would hire someone that creates the program for you, not something that's just one size fits all. If you're doing like less than, say, 20 to 25 units, I think a group program can work. Most coaches will allow you to buy a la carte one-on-one calls to use like when you're really down in the weeds or you need a swift kick in the ass or whatever. We do a program that has a little bit of both in it so that you get some one-on-one time, but that's really not necessary. A lot of times you can move together and work together as a group and actually get more benefit from it. So understand how you move. The other thing that I would tell you that's really been helpful that we've seen in, the coaching that I do is if it's once a week or once every 2 weeks, you're not going to cover enough ground. So we offer coaching once a week, and then we have accountability calls every day where you show up, you state your intention, and you've got a tribe around you. So if you work out of the house or maybe you work for a virtual brokerage or you just don't like going to your office because you always get distracted, whatever it is, you have that group of people holding you accountable, holding you able. I love that too. Like they're like, you can do this. Like we're behind you, and they share ideas and shortcuts and how they got over things. So I think like a hybrid program like that is really, really helpful. It might be something you want to consider, but just don't get too big for your britches too quick. Like don't be too good to build those foundations. It's really, really important. And I would make sure that there's a refund available if you don't like it, or can you sit in on a call and have a sample call? Can I see what this is going to be like before I sign up? So that would be another thing that I might consider someone ask when they're really considering coaching, and make sure you have the budget for it too.
Oh, that definitely very, very true. The last thing you want to be doing is like reneging on a commitment,
For sure.
which is it's just horrible integrity at that point if that
For
happens.
sure.
Um,
For
I
sure.
love this. Okay, I want to go to this last question, which is more of a tactical question, because I would love to see how you handle this situation.
This is a pop quiz.
Now, yeah, right. This is totally not a pop quiz because I'm pretty sure you get this question asked in all of your coaching sessions.
All right, we'll see. I'm
So
testing
this
you
is more
now.
like, okay, oh, I already know how to respond to this. Um, Someone's struggling building some consistency with regards to their prospecting, lead generation, and lead nurture. What are some effective recommendations and tips that you can give set agent that's kind of in the weeds but not getting the wins?
So they're doing the activities or they're not doing the activities.
They're maybe not doing it consistently.
So consistency is always going to be a problem in real estate, and it's a perpetual one even after 30 years that I wrestle with because the crazy shows up. It shows up every day. And everyone else's priorities are waiting for me if I pick up my phone and I look at my text messages or I look in my inbox. That's just the way it is. So you need to build a bunker. And this is one of the best pieces of advice. It comes out of The One Thing by Gary Keller. Again, I've never had an original idea. I love leaning into really smart people, right? And what they teach. But he talks about building a bunker. And for me, a bunker means it's a time in my day that's like as sacred as if somebody called me and asked me to come list their house. It's that, or write a contract. It's that important. And I pick the time of day when my battery is at full charge. Everybody's battery is different. So figure out that time and make that time absolutely positively sacred. Make sure that you understand how much time you need. what activities you need to be doing. Check that. Don't just read it in a book somewhere and go do it, because you're likely to be wrong. And then you want to make sure that you've automated as much as you can. So if you're a person that has a problem with consistency, let's just acknowledge that up front and say, okay, if I'm the one that's going to have to push the button every morning, whatever that button is, it's probably not going to happen regularly. Like, I'm not a regular button pusher. So I need to automate as much as I can. So here's where that bespoke coaching comes in. It's like, know who you are, know what you're trying to do, know how much of it you need to be doing, and what does that look like? How can we create a workflow that requires as little of your DNA as possible? James Clear, again, those atomic habits. It's like the least amount of resistance between you and the activity the habit that you're trying to, nurture. I have like everybody has, I'm sure everybody knows this, like everybody has their backstage thing that they do before they go on stage. I have a backstage thing that I do before I go into lead generation. I know exactly what I want my morning to look like, and it looks like that. And then I feel good launching into that protected time. It's a very tactical thing. And depending on how sensitive you are to squirrels and shiny objects, there's various things you can do to lock yourself down so you don't feel so distracted.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more with you for that. Your last point about there's a ritual. I like citing people too, because a lot more people are smarter than me. It reminds me of two people. Number one was The Alter Ego Effect by Todd Herman. And it's like, don't be you, be the person that you need to be for that situation. And it's like prospecting.
Yes.
And then the other one.
Oh my God, yeah. Say that slower. Slow that down for all the people to hear and write down in ink on their arm. What was that again?
Yeah. Don't be you, be the person that you need to be to do the thing that you need to do. Yeah. Shout out to Todd Herman. The book is Alter Ego Effect. Great dude. Highly recommend reading it. And then the other one from that was actually Jordan Belfort, The Wolf of Wall Street. He talks about whenever he goes on stage, right before he does, he has these little inhalers, not full of cocaine or anything, but these little inhalers that are designed to just give him a whiff of menthol. And that is the trigger to have them turn into this other person that needs to go on stage and that needs to perform. And I think that's part of what this is. When you have your 1 hour of prospecting, if you don't like cold calling, do you need to become someone else to be able to like the cold calling? Or if you don't like button pushing, do you need to be someone else to become the button pusher? Maybe think about becoming that person. And then once that hour is done, reset and become you again. And that's kind of secret superpower there. But Stacey, hey, I really appreciate you hanging out with me today. For the people that want to sign up to your program and join your coaching circle and all that stuff, I'm going to leave the link in the description below. And can you tell, maybe just elaborate, how can people join? Because I know it's not I'm going to hop in tomorrow. It's in a cohort of the 12-week year, right? So how often are the cohorts to come in?
Yeah, so we usually do a launch a month. And then what we'll do is if somebody's a week behind or something, I'll private coach them up so they can jump in. So wherever you are in the month, you can usually get in and we'll make it work. It's 12 and a half weeks long. And what we do is we kick it off. We build your plan with you. We have a really great program for that so that you can track your results and kind of start creating a success recipe for yourself, and you can go back and look at what you're doing and what worked and what didn't and things like that. That's really the core of what we do. And Mondays we have a training for an hour, and then every day for 2 hours, I'm available in the morning, and people jump on for 15 minutes at either 10 Eastern or 11 Eastern, and they state their intentions. And then if they want to, they can stay on the call and work on their intentions. We body double. So for all those people that do better when they're sitting in a group or working at the office, but you don't want the distractions, we do it on Zoom, and you can sit there. You can ask questions if you have a question. So we don't allow you to get stuck. You're not allowed to use that excuse anymore. So we're available. So you have a coach available 2 hours every day to ask questions. And then on Thursdays, we have an Ask Me Anything. I know you do Ask Me Anything sessions also, which are so helpful because, it could be a question about a deal you've got going on. It could be a question completely unrelated to what we're coaching on. So we do that. And then we have individual one-on-one sessions as needed as you're working your own individual plans. So it's really a great program. It's extremely affordable. It's $3.99. You can't beat it. You can't beat it.
As of the launch. It's as of the launch of this podcast video. It might go up, so I probably will.
I have to tell you, it is. I am so proud of it because it has grown by offering features that people really wanted. I have people that are paralyzed by Canva. We give you the Canva templates, like whatever we're asking you to implement, because I'm an implementation coach. That's my job, is to help you implement and make your vision happen. So we try and give you everything that you could possibly need to just plug and play, so that you don't get stuck in the how, why, perfectionism, vicious circle. So we have that. We would love to have you on board. And then we also offer 6-packs. I told you about that earlier. We do a 6-pack of coaching calls. If you just have like a need and you need to get from here to there and you need someone to walk you through it and hold you accountable, we can do that. We just do 6 calls and you can add on as many as you need going forward, but no long-term contracts or anything like that. It's really helpful. That way you can get what you need and move on.
Exactly. Because it's not like you're trying to sign up for like a lifetime membership to coaching.
Can I just be honest? I've had, my God, 6 different coaches and each one brought something really special to my career, but not one of those people could have done what those in like the group of them had done for me. So I truly believe that there's a ton of talented people out there. You just got to connect with who can move you forward.
Oh, love it. Let's end on that note. Hey, Stacey, I really appreciate you hanging out with me. Leaving all the links to connect with Stacey too. Follow her on Instagram and Facebook as well, because she has a really, really funny, she posts really funny stories about just being harassed by health insurance people. It's hilarious. Stacey, thanks again. Guys, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button, the like button, the bell icon, get notified whenever we post cool videos just like this. Guys, have a great one. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.
See ya.